Good morning. My name is Dr. Pangloss van der Merwe. This is my diary entry for the 28th of August 2019. I've had quite an interesting morning because I've been delving into my family history on my father's side. My father was Jewish and my mother was English, but it's the Jewish side of the family that I find far more interesting than the English side. English side's quite boring really, but the Jewish side is quite fascinating. And I've got delved way back, father, grandfather, great grandfather, then even further back than that. My great way back grandfather was probably Hasidic, and I base it on the fact that my name is Carlin. I confess that the Dr. Pangloss van der Merwe is just a pseudonym. It's not my real name. My real name is Carlin. And if you're of Jewish heritage and you have a surname Carlin, then you probably have ancestry amongst the Hasids in Eastern Europe who gave themselves the surname after the Rabbi Aaron of Carlin. And so I'm just saying that it's probably true that my great whatever grandfather was Hasidic. And then my great grandfather, we've worked out, Chaim Carlin, went from Riga, Latvia to Russia to fight on the side of the Bolsheviks. So in my ancestry, we've gone from Hasidic to Bolshevik. And then we get to my grandfather. My grandfather came out of South Africa in 1898. And we've worked out from the family history that he was probably Zionist because my father, who was born in 1911 in Cape Town, was given the name Herzl. So we can only surmise that he was named after Theodore Herzl, which would make my grandfather a Zionist. And at that time, in 1911, in Cape Town, or even in the world, you would have had to be quite rebellious to be a Zionist because it wasn't generally accepted, specifically or especially by the rabbis, and it wasn't generally accepted in the Jewish community to be a Zionist. So he showed quite a rebellious spirit there. So we seem to have a tradition of rebellion because the Hasids back in the 1918th whatever century, they were breaking away from Orthodox Judaism, showing a rebellious spirit. Bolsheviks, they were obviously rebels. Zionists, showing a rebellious spirit. And then my father also showed a rebellious spirit because he married a shiksa. By shiksa, I mean Christian lady, sometimes given a pejorative meaning of Christian lady of lower morals, but I don't think my father thought that about my mother. So I suppose you could call my father quite rebellious because he was a shiksa faka, excuse the French. But in the Jewish tradition, it was quite acceptable to be a shiksa faka. There was no problem with that. But I think my father made the mistake of making her a mother. So it's okay in the Jewish tradition to be a shiksa faka, but please don't be a shiksa motherfucker. So he also then was showing a rebellious spirit. And then, of course, now I'm his son, and I think I've inherited another aspect of Jewish tradition, which is to be a schnorrer. I'm definitely a schnorrer. And by schnorrer, I don't mean just somebody who puts his hand out and expects a donation. A schnorrer in the Jewish tradition had to make you feel obligated to give him whatever. So it's an intellectual exercise that a schnorrer has to use to inveigle you into thinking that he has the right to get whatever he's getting from you. And I'm sure I've got all the skills and the attributes in that regard. So all in all I can say is that my Jewish tradition seems to be covering all of the Jewish aspects you can think of, going from Chassid to Bolshevik to Zionist to Shiksa motherfucker to Schnorrer. Thanks very much.